Hello, people of the internet. I am the Golden Witch, but you can call me Trixie, at Golden Witch Fire on Twitter and Instagram and anywhere else you can find me. I am the owner and founder of Yig Studio, a mobile artist and artisan collective touring the country to find and work with creators on getting their ideas accomplished, as well as helping the people that we enjoy working with to reach a new audience through platforming their content on our YouTube channels. On the Yig Studio channel, we have broadly categorized our content into 5 types of movies. Music movies include any type of video that accompanies a musical release, be that a traditional music video, an album video, lyric video, visualizer, or an experimental combination of all of them. Cartoon movies are exactly what they sound like: animated films. The phrase animated films gives you the mental image of a Hayao Miyazaki film, though, and our in-house animation production is completely independent, currently in the hands of one animator whose delightful visualizers populate many of our music movies. People movies are videos where real people are the primary focus, sort of like reality TV, but blending every genre from travelogues to rant vlogs to interviews and conversations with other content creators to man-on-the-street videos and anything else that puts human interaction at the forefront. Book movies add a visual component to what might otherwise be considered audiobooks. On a case-by-case basis, the visual component may be more imperative to the experience of the audio, but these are distinct from cartoon movies in that they will feature a more narrative-driven presentation. Lastly, but perhaps most importantly to many of you, are movie movies, meaning movies about movies. But more broadly, these are videos which talk about other works of art in depth, be they anime, films, manga, comic books. Whatever we're analyzing is broadly getting condensed into the word movie, and the concepts of reviews, discussion, critique, analysis, personal stories relating to your experience with a piece of work, whatever, is being broadly condensed also into the word movie, because it makes me laugh. If you aren't completely clear on what any of these categories might entail, I would highly encourage you to just go and watch all of the videos currently available on the Yig Studio channel. You will find that the colored borders on the thumbnails indicate which category each video falls into, and that the About page of the channel features a chart which explains those colors, just in case the playlist on the front page of the channel didn't make it obvious. At the time of this video, there are 4 staff members working at Yig Studio, including myself. I am the main creative director and executive decision maker at the studio, and I produce and star in a lot of the content as a vocalist, a rapper, an on-screen performer, storyboard artist, writer, researcher, and podcaster. I am supported directly by subscriptions to my blog at goldenwitch.substack.com, where I write frequent free articles as well as locked ones for paying subscribers, and a podcast called The Big Review, wherein my boyfriend and I review all of the stuff that we watched or did together in recent weeks. Riley Mix is also known as the Grand Vizier of Yig, as well as the owner of his own production label, ASE Presents, independently working in a production role for the well-known science and rage-based comedy podcast, The Dick Show. He is our executive producer, responsible for getting us into contact with artists who want to work with us, getting us where we need to go to make things happen, and getting the people there to do what they have to do. He can also be heard rapping, producing beats, and talking to people in the streets in many of our music and people movies. Follow his musical work on Instagram at Vizier Presents, and get in contact with him via Twitter by DMing at ASE Presents to organize things with our group directly. Bird Stork is our top-tier American chef, 6'5", and an indispensable general production assistant. His cooking show, Whatcha Cookin', will be found on the Yig Studio OnlyFans account at onlyfans.com/YigStudio, where we also release behind-the-scenes and bonus movies of our adventures that we couldn't put into the public-facing people movies. Bird's ability to drive long distances and cook great food is what makes our adventurous lifestyle possible, and as mentioned before, his voice can be heard at length in the Big Review podcast, which he records with me on my Substack account. He can also be found on Twitter and Instagram at BirdStork. Mint Salad is the Vizier's girlfriend and our resident illustrator and animator, whose incredible commission work can be found all over Twitter and in the thumbnails of highly successful podcasts and YouTube channels, and in our music, cartoon, and book movies. Mint is one of the fastest working and most detail-oriented illustrators I've ever seen, and every commission I've watched her complete is even better than the last, so I cannot recommend her highly enough. She is simply called It's Mint Salad on Twitter and Instagram, but you can also find her NSFW work on Twitter under the name Tits Mint Salad for reasons which should be quickly obvious. Mint and Riley also have their own couples reviews show on onlyfans.com/YigStudio called Animates, in which they review beloved anime shows as first-time viewers new to the medium. Yig Studio has been traveling the country in a Prius for the past 6 months, producing people movies with just a couple of GoPros and a Zoom mic. But now we're moving into an RV to live and do our travels in, and we'll be able to bring all of our professional equipment on the road with us, and even offer its use to the artists that we work with along the way, raising the potential quality of what we can produce significantly. And with that, I have summarized all there really is to know about the current state of operations for this channel, for Yig Studio, and for the current employees thereof. If you're interested in advertising with or sponsoring our group, get in contact with us via yigstudiocontact@gmail.com. I will now address some lingering personal concerns tied to matters of my internet reputation, which Yig Studio is not involved with as an entity, but which affect it in that people who are interested in me will inevitably pitch questions to the people working most closely with me. Up until yesterday, I was doing a thrice-weekly anime review show called Content with my friend and longtime collaborator, Best Guy Ever. My involvement as a mainstay member and decision-maker on that show was terminated by myself at Best Guy Ever's ultimatum that we either end the show or I allow him to potentially continue it after a short hiatus with my brother Victor. I allowed myself to be fired from the show so that it would be allowed to continue. This decision was not affected by my moving into an RV, as I have always been willing to return to Virginia regularly to shoot the show, and the reasons for my firing are primarily connected to Best Guy Ever's personal disinterest in being involved with myself or with Yig Studio in the future on the basis of his personal feelings about our content paradigm. I was also until recently a member of a podcast called The Procrastinators. I decided to formally leave the podcast after disagreeing with Ben Saint on the appropriate way to handle talking about business and personal matters on the internet, and for his extremely negative and hostile attitude towards myself and many of my friends over the years. As a member of the Procrastinators podcast, I was participant in the Kickstarter-funded RadCon 4 event. I still have to complete the Road to RadCon 4 audiobook and create a physical release of that, and the Yig staff will be helping me to get this done quickly. There has been a lot of concern from certain parties about a lecture which I gave at RadCon 4 about bronies, which has never been released. Some people convinced themselves that this lecture was promised in the Kickstarter, which was not the case. I never allowed the Brony lecture to be specifically included as part of it because I wasn't sure if I was actually going to make it, and even after I did, I wasn't sure if I was actually going to release it. After spending some time editing it, I was dissatisfied with the content and with my pre-transition presentation and decided it wasn't something I wanted to release. I am still open to the possibility of recording another Brony lecture, and the Grand Vizier of Yig has offered to personally organize an event to gather the same PCP members together to spectate it, but Ben does not like that idea, so the future possibilities of a Brony lecture are still completely up in the air. You may also notice that I haven't talked about my still active Patreon account. I have struggled with this platform over the years and made a huge mistake in getting caught up trying to make worthwhile content tiers and exclusive offers for patrons, eventually creating a backlog of things that I had to make for people that led to me closing off the higher tiers of my Patreon. There are still a handful of rant videos I haven't put up yet, which will eventually be posted up unlisted on the second channel, gathered in a playlist, and linked to the rant owners personally. And the people who never received the care packages will. Currently, the only reward tier on my Patreon is the Big Review podcast, which can now also be found on my Substack. At the end of this month, I will raise the price on this tier to the same $7 a month that it costs to subscribe to my Substack, unless you pay $70 a year, in order to encourage more people to switch to the other better platform, which also offers more in the form of frequent blog posts and a more simplified system that charges you based on when you sign up instead of at the start of the month, and pays me out every single day instead of 5 days late every month. I will also again mention the Yig Studio OnlyFans, which is unique as a platform in that it allows direct video upload, meaning we can do a ton more with our bonus content on there than we can anywhere else. If you're really interested in what Yig Studio is doing as a collective, you'll get the most bang for your buck there. Hopefully this video has made everything clear to everyone. If you have any further questions, I'll be down in the comments answering them. Have a nice day. And, anime forever.